Good afternoon. Welcome to Service 3 class. Service 3 centers on the journey of Christianity in West Africa. In our last week class, we discussed the movement of the Europeans into West Africa, particularly the Portuguese. And what we established is that the previous knowledge of the Europeans about the world is that the world was stratified into two lands. We have the North land and then we have the South land. We discussed that in our last week topic. Then this week we want to look at the roles of Portugal in West Africa. And in our last week we established that Henry, the fourth son of John I, the king of Portugal, navigates the land of West Africa, and the navigation of Henry, the navigator, and other Portuguese in West Africa lasted for about 200 years. Particularly, we said that they came into West Africa in 1415, and then the activities lasted till around 1600, so about 200 years in our land. Then the roles of Portugal in West Africa is of two phases. There is a positive role, there are positive rules, and there are negative rules. Then this afternoon we merge the rules together. So the first rule to point to is the establishment. Establishment of trade stations. So the Portugal established trade stations across different lands of West Africa. They established in Guinea, in Sierra Leone, in Nigeria, in Senegal, and so on and so on. So they established trade stations. And one of the reasons that we point to for their invasion is economic purpose. So because onto this, they use it to have economic interaction with the hinterland of the people of Africa. Then another role that we can also point to that the Portuguese performed in West Africa is the introduction of Christianity, which is religious rule or religious function. At the arrival of the Portuguese, they celebrate Mass in mosque when they came in the first place. How did it happen? Islamic activities was already in West Africa or in Africa as a whole for about 30 years before the navigation of Africa. So when they came, there was no place for them to observe prayer. So what they use at that time is where we call mosques. So they make use of mosques that are available at that time in the different lands of West Africa. They encroach to mark mass celebration. So they introduce Christianity in West Africa. The another role that they also play is slave trade. Yes, the Portuguese introduced slave trade. So we have what we call slave markets in West Africa, where they buy humans, where there's a transaction or transportation of human, particularly to Brazil, where they have their plantation farm. So they play this role. They say human, able African men, they were sold out as a result of African contact with the Europeanists. So they involved in these activities. Then, so another major role that they perform in West Africa is civilization. Civilization. So they civilize our community because our system of administration before they came, according to them, was not democratic. So they came with different system that is of republican in nature today. And before then, we are basically monarchical in nature. So they came with civilization. But let's quickly look at the failures of the Portuguese in West Africa. Why did they fail? Because in the course they failed, despite that they encroached West Africa before other European nations. And one major thing that brought to their failure is what we refer to as slave trade, the buying of human. The agreement between the Portuguese and other European nations is the introduction of Christianity or introduction of Christian religion. But in the course, they disappointed the agreement they had with Pope Nicholas. So they engaged in slave trade. So that led to their failure. The only thing that points to their failure in West African shore is that they had paucity of finance. That is paucity of finance. That is, they have poor, paucity means poor finance. So they don't have enough money to finance the activities in West Africa. So that leads to their failure because there are a lot of programs they ought to execute on their own account. So owing to this, they failed in the land of West Africa. The other reason why they failed in the land of Africa is exploration. Exploration of Igbo people. The Portuguese, and he quotes the Europeans, they exploit the land of Africa. They took advantage of the people of West Africa, of Africa as a whole. They took the advantage of their resources, their raw materials, their goods, their silver, and so many other things at their own advantage, and they are the detriment of the West African people. So on this note, we call it a day. Then in our next class, we are going to look at the establishment of Christian missionary